in his hand, and he didn't go ballistic like we would. He just shook it off and went on with life. He was stoned. He was beaten up. He was thrown out of cities. He was shipwrecked. He spent a day and a night in the drink, in the water. So this is not somebody that I look at as being fearful. And yet in 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 3, he says, I was with you in weakness, in fear, and with trembling. Did you catch that? This was a guy that many of us try to pattern our ministry after. And even he says, there's times in my life when I am fearful. I'm scared. Now, I can tell you that fear is one of the most effective tools that Satan can use against you and I. Now, think about it. God gave us a purpose. God gave us a mission. In Matthew chapter 28, and at the end of that chapter, he gives us our commission. He says, go. And we really, as Christians, and this is every one of us in this room, whether we choose to accept that mission or not, but we're all given the same mission. We are to win people to Christ, first and foremost. Now, I'll be the first one to raise my hand. Petrifies me. Petrifies me. So if you're in that boat, don't feel bad. Don't let anyone tell you that shouldn't scare you, because we're dealing with somebody's eternal soul. The second thing we have been commanded to do is to bring them into the body of believers, the community, and see what we just saw a few minutes ago, and that's baptism. They are recognized as a believer, and then we are to disciple the convert. Those are our marching orders. That is what the church and the Christian exist for. And yet when I think of that, it boggles my mind, because one, it's a big, big job, but it's also a scary job. It's a fearful job. It is something that you really struggle getting a grasp over and getting your hands over. And so that's why over 150 times in Scripture, God says, fear not. Fear not. Don't be afraid. David, a man after God, in Psalms 23, yea, though I walk, I will fear no evil. God spoke with Joshua in Joshua 1, verse 6, be strong. And 22:13, it says, be strong and of good courage, do not fear, nor be discouraged. Time after time after time, we see God encouraging us to remain, that cause fear in our life. And a faith in God. Sometimes it's a lack of trust in His very presence in your life. Even though He says, I will never leave you nor forsake you, we get to a point in our life, and when we hit those mountaintops, when we hit those deserts, when we're in that water, I can't feel your presence. Sometimes we just ignore His presence. We know He's here. We know He's here. We just ignore His presence, or we dismiss His eternal protection, or we ignore His unconditional love. I can honestly say that I've been guilty of all five of those. I've been guilty of all five of those. So when we are afraid,